Welcome to the American Chronicles podcast. I'm Vlad Davidiak. Former Colorado State Senator Ted Harvey was first elected in 2001 as a representative. He had previously worked as a staffer in the Reagan administration and most recently served as the honorary chairman of the Stop Hillary PAC, which worked to defeat Hillary Clinton in 2016. He currently works with Committee to Defend the President to support President-elect Donald Trump from leftist attacks and continue to rally grassroots support behind him. He joined the show to talk about the efforts to defeat Clinton and to defend the president-elect. Coming up next in the American Chronicles. We're joined now by former Colorado State Senator Ted Harvey. Ted Harvey served as the Senate representative for District 30 and was first elected in 2001. He previously served in the Reagan administration and was the honorary chairman of the Stop Hillary PAC, which worked in 2015-2016 to put an end to the possibility of Hillary Clinton becoming president of the United States. He currently works with Committee to Defend the President to support President-elect Donald Trump from leftist attacks and to continue to rally grassroots support behind him as he transitions to the White House. Ted Harvey, welcome to the American Chronicles.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Let's jump right into it. We had the election about a month ago. You're very happy because Stop Hillary PAC worked, right? What was your feeling immediately on the night of November 8th?
I don't want to say I was shocked, but I was incredibly happily surprised that the American people rose up and said that they did not want to have the most corrupt individual ever to run for the presidency to win the presidency. And Donald Trump, I believe, is the only candidate that could have stepped up and beaten Hillary in Michigan and Wisconsin and in Pennsylvania. Those are typical traditional Democrat states, and it was going to take somebody that was going to be outside of the box like Donald Trump that would speak to those hardworking, blue-collar, traditional Democrat conservatives that are out there that have seen their jobs being diminished, seen their benefits, their health care benefits skyrocket, and Donald Trump spoke to them. And he talked about how the illegal immigrants were taking jobs of low-wage earners in America. And I don't think any other Republican could have done that. And because of that, he was like on any other Republican in the past that would aggressively go after the Democrats when they tried to go after our nominee. Typically, the Republicans are on their heels and in a defensive mode, and Donald Trump never was on the defensive. He was always on the offensive.
That's an understatement.
Took it straight to Hillary Clinton.
Yeah. Let's go back a little bit because I'm reading this bio, and you're a former Colorado State Senator, so you come into this not as a political operative or as somebody who runs some kind of an organization that you just come out of nowhere. You actually have a history behind you. Like I said, you were first elected in 2001, but before that, you actually served in the Reagan administration. So that's actually one thing I'd like to touch on first. Talk to us about the history of you becoming active as a political person.
Well, it was interesting. I was going to college and was going Air Force ROTC and wanted to be a fighter pilot. My father was a fighter pilot. I was an Air Force brat, so I always wanted to follow in my dad's footsteps. And my brother happened to be working, running Reagan's campaign in Texas in 1984. And when he finished graduate school in 1987, he went to Washington, D.C. and got a job with the administration in Washington, D.C. And I went out there on spring break once and started meeting all of his friends that had worked on the Reagan campaign around the country and saw how they were having significant influence on our nation's policy and on international policy as well. And the more I talked to them, the more I thought, this might be a way that I can serve my country in a way that might be more effective and direct than going into the military. And so the more I talked to those people, the more I started having the desire to go in that direction. And I happened to be talking to one person who said that her aide had fell through and asked if I wanted to come work for her. And at the time, I didn't even realize where she was working when she asked me. And it ended up she was working on President Reagan's memoirs in the White House. And at the age of 22, I literally just fell into a job in the Reagan White House. And it was one of those forks in the road that has changed my life. Either go to boot camp or go work in the Reagan White House. And I worked in the Reagan White House and read all of Reagan's speeches and how the media responded to all of his speeches across the world. And I essentially bathed myself in Ronald Reagan ideology and came back to Colorado after that stint and was a passionate conservative who wanted to continue the Reagan Revolution in Colorado and pursue it nationally as well. So it was truly divine intervention that set me in that position, and it's been an incredible ride ever since.
You actually transitioned that from working behind the scenes, which is working in the Reagan administration in the White House, to actively pursuing a political career. You got elected in 2001 to serve in the Colorado legislature. So talk to us about that first race and how you arrived at that decision. What made you want to run, and what propelled you across the finish line?
Well, after working in the Reagan White House, I've always been a very passionate, Constitution-loving, free market-loving conservative that wanted to defend everything that our nation was founded upon. And I came back to Colorado and got my master's in public administration. And I recently got married and moved, had a brand new son, and moved to a community where I saw the people that were running, and I was not happy with the options that we had. And I've always said that evil prevails when good men sit and do nothing. So I couldn't just sit there and allow these guys to run without at least giving it a shot to try to change the direction. So I put my name in the hat, and I ended up running for office after living in the district for 4 months, and lost by 150 votes. But I had done such a admirable job, I guess, that the folks in the community appreciated how hard I ran and how hard I helped the candidate that did win in the general election. And that was in 1998. And then in 2001, my current state representative at the time took a position with the Bush administration, and so there was a vacancy in 2001. And when I raised my hand to fill that vacancy, I pretty much won the election overwhelmingly for the vacancy, and then won the outright election in 2002 and served in the State House for 5 years, and then ran for the State Senate in 2006 and served in the State Senate for 8 years. And during that time, I was always one of the leading conservatives in the state and worked with outside groups to help elect conservatives. I endorsed conservative candidates in primaries. I endorsed conservative candidates in the general election. It was always my goal not so much to pursue Ted Harvey's goal, but to make sure that the conservative movement moved forward and that we had the most conservative Republican caucus in the state's history. And by the time I left, I think that we were able to achieve that with working with outside groups like the Stop Hillary PAC. And so during my time in the legislature, I was able to develop some very strong relationships with large national organizations around the country that get involved in politics at the state level and at the national level. And so when I got out of the legislature and I saw that Hillary Clinton was going to be running for office, a group of us got together, and after what happened in Benghazi, we decided to do everything we could to make sure that Hillary Clinton never stepped foot in the White House again. And before she even announced her candidacy, we had the Stop Hillary PAC up and running, and we're raising money and building an army across the country to stop Hillary Clinton from becoming president.
Yeah, you definitely took those conservative principles from the State House to apply them to this political action committee to really raise an alarm early, even before she had announced that she was running, to work to stop her. And the grassroots really responded. We're speaking, of course, with Ted Harvey, who is former Colorado state senator who was instrumental in the Stop Hillary PAC. He's actually currently serving with Committee to Defend the President. You can find them online at committeetodefendthepresident.com. You can also follow them on Twitter at Stop Hillary PAC. Ted, you transitioned into this Stop Hillary PAC really as an effort to really derail her campaign or derail her attempt to become president before she'd even announced. And so you were able to mobilize the grassroots. You were able to get a lot of pieces moving in the right direction at the right time. But it almost fell apart in April of 2015 when you actually got a letter from the FEC demanding that you change the name of the PAC, which really would have affected the way you operate because you're trying to raise awareness about Hillary, but they're telling you can't do that. Talk to us about that.
Oh, that's actually one of the greatest stories of this whole thing. The FEC has a rule that you cannot use the name of a candidate in your PAC name because they don't want the voters to be confused with who's raising money for which campaign. And so if we were using Hillary's name in our PAC's name, then they thought that Hillary supporters might be giving money to our campaign when, in fact, they wanted to be giving money to the Hillary Clinton campaign. And so our response to the FEC was that, one, I think most voters out there are able to understand the difference between Stop Hillary and elect Hillary, and so there was not going to be any confusion from the voters about what the intent of our PAC was. But additionally, we started our PAC before Hillary Clinton announced her candidacy. So if anybody were to have to change their name, it should be Hillary Clinton that has to change her name because we had the Stop Hillary PAC well before Hillary Clinton got into the campaign. And we told the FEC to go, what's the polite way to say it on the radio, go jump in a lake because we weren't changing the name of our PAC. And in the end, we prevailed, and the FEC had to back down from their demands because there was no way anybody was going to confuse the Stop Hillary PAC from the Hillary Clinton campaign.
Right.
But it was a great letter that we all got to put our input in our response to the FEC. And in the end, the last sentence was, hopefully the voters won't be confused that we are supporting or not supporting Sir Edmund Hillary, who was the first person to climb Mount Everest.
You know, it really says a lot about the FEC that they really think that Hillary Clinton's supporters must be that stupid that they couldn't distinguish between an effort to support her and an effort to stop her. So that speaks volumes.
Well, it speaks volumes to the extent that the government bureaucracy will go to stop any political speech that is going up against their preferred candidate, which was Hillary Clinton. The entire administration did everything they could to stop the Stop Hillary PAC,
right.
And this was just one of their volleys across our bow to make us get in line. And they didn't understand who was running the Stop Hillary PAC, the people that were behind the Stop Hillary PAC,
yeah.
And we don't kowtow to the political elite and do what they want us to do. Our goal was to make sure Hillary Clinton never became president of the United States, and
right.
we did everything we could to ensure that was the case.
Now, Stop Hillary PAC actually took a really active and important role in leading the charge to get Hillary in front of the Congressional Committee on Benghazi. Y'all were instrumental in putting some petitions in front of Trey Gowdy to encourage him to move forward aggressively on these hearings. Talk to us about that.
Well, we were one of the very first organizations we were the first organization out there that was demanding that Congress even do investigations into the Benghazi situation, because we were so outraged by what happened that we were making requests of all of our members across the country to contact Congress and demand that there be an investigation into what happened in Benghazi. I told you a little bit earlier about my brother and how he had went to Washington, D.C. My brother has spent his entire career as a Foreign Service officer. He's one of the highest-ranking Foreign Service officers in our government, and he's been stationed throughout the Middle East. So when Benghazi happened and our civil servants, they weren't military personnel, they were civil servants that were working in that mission, were attacked, and the Secretary of State, who had been requested on numerous occasions to beef up the security at that mission, turned down any request for increased security, and then did nothing to help those people that were on the ground during that terrorist incident. And then the next day came out and lied to the American people and lied to the world that it was simply a uprising against a filmmaker that made a anti-Muslim film in California, when she knew for a fact that it was a terrorist incident on the 10th anniversary of 9/11. I and the folks that I was working with the Stop Hillary PAC were so outraged that that's one of the main reasons why we started the Stop Hillary PAC, and we were going to demand that Congress do a full and thorough investigation into what happened over the course of that whole situation. And as the investigation continued, we asked our members to sign what was essentially a petition, but we called it a subpoena, to subpoena Hillary Clinton and bring her before the Congressional Committee to testify under oath as to what happened. And the first time we did that, we delivered to Trey Gowdy, the chairman of the committee, over 250,000 subpoenas from people across the country who wanted Hillary Clinton brought before that committee to answer for what happened under her watch as Secretary of State. And it was such a powerful move that the Democrats started to get very anxious about the impact that the Stop Hillary PAC was having. If you have the chance, or your listeners have the chance, to go back and read some of the emails that WikiLeaks sent out about John Podesta's emails and what he was saying to the campaign team, the Clinton campaign team, they were very frustrated by how effective the Stop Hillary PAC was being with regards to the investigation of Benghazi. And then you fast forward to about 3 or 4 months later, and Hillary Clinton was going to be testifying before the committee, and we contacted all of our members across the country and asked them to sign a petition about what questions we thought needed to be answered in order to fully give the American people a full understanding of what actually happened in Benghazi. And we had over 500,000 people across the country sign that petition, and we took to the committee, every member of the Benghazi committee, 5,000 pieces of paper with individual signatures on there, demanding that these certain questions be asked of Hillary Clinton. And there was, in that, was questions about her emails and her email server and what was going on and how secure her email server was, and was she violating any, compromising any of our national security by having an insecure server. And one of the greatest endorsements that we received for the Stop Hillary PAC was CNN had a debate going on between two Democrat congressmen and a Republican congressman from the committee. And the Democrat congressman said, you all have known all about the email server and all about the emails. The only reason why you are pursuing this line of questioning is because of all of the pressure that you are getting from the Stop Hillary PAC. And at that point, I'm doing high fives with everybody in the office because we knew that the members of the Stop Hillary PAC, millions across the country, were having a huge impact on bringing to light what was going on with Hillary Clinton as Secretary of State and her failure to be securing not only the safety of our men and women overseas in our embassies across the world, but also securing our national security interests by having an insecure server. So the impact that the members of the Stop Hillary PAC have had over this election has been immense. And from that point on, we only became that much more influential in our impact and influence on the election going into November of 2016.
Do you think that Hillary Clinton will ever be prosecuted or be held accountable for the things that she did as Secretary of State?
Well, I hope she will, especially the way she handled herself in relation to the Clinton Foundation. She utilized her role as Secretary of State to essentially shake down foreign governments and foreign business owners to force them to give money to the Clinton Foundation in order for the State Department to sign off on different foreign agreements with foreign governments and foreign businesses. And that is corruption at the highest level of government that should never be excused and somebody should be held accountable for it. If we do not allow that prosecution to go forward, and from my understanding, the FBI is still investigating it, if we do not allow that to continue to go forward and have somebody held accountable, and preferably Hillary Clinton held accountable since she was the architect of the entire thing, then what we are telling not only to the American citizens but to the rest of the world is that America is no longer a nation of laws, that we have always been where every individual is treated equally under the law, that we don't have preferences by the political elite or the financially powerful, that we treat everybody under the law equally. If we allow Hillary Clinton to go free for what she did as Secretary of State, then we are going to be telling the American citizens that what we have stood for 240 years is no longer the case. And America is not a shining city upon a hill that the rest of the world should be looking at as the example of how government should be run. We're going to be looked at as nothing better than any other third world country that allows the politically elite, the financially powerful, to do whatever they want and get away with it.
So, Stop Hillary PAC fulfilled its mission. It did what it set out to do. You stopped Hillary. The members of the committee wanted to continue to contribute to how they're interacting with the government and what they're contributing on a national level. So that PAC has now become Committee to Defend the President, which works to support President-elect Donald Trump from leftist attacks and rallies grassroots support behind him even after the election. Talk to us about the transition to the new organization, what your mission is, and what you see happening in the next 100 days in the first Trump administration.
Well, like I said at the very beginning, my whole philosophy in politics is not about individuals. It's about the movement. It's about the conservative movement to defend the Constitution and defend the free market system and defend the rule of law. And I think what you are seeing since November 9th is the Democrat Party, George Soros, the Clinton Foundation, are doing everything they possibly can to undermine the legitimacy of the Trump election and the Trump presidency. you saw those, quote, spontaneous uprisings on college campuses across the country the day after the election. That was not spontaneous. That was a coordinated effort by the radical left to try to call into question Trump's election. And when that got stale and faded away, then you saw the left come up with the line of thinking that, well, he didn't win the popular vote. And everybody knows that that is irrelevant. All that matters is that you win the Electoral College vote. And Donald Trump ran a masterful campaign to win the states necessary to win the electoral vote. And Hillary Clinton was a failure at that. And once everybody realized that that was not going to be the case, then you saw the Democrats come up with another line saying we need to have a recount of these important states that the Democrats normally win, that Hillary Clinton failed to win. And when that started, it was started by Jill Stein of the Green Party. I believe Jill Stein was simply doing it to boost her own name ID and the Green Party's name ID. But quickly you saw Hillary Clinton's attorneys, campaign attorneys, getting involved to help Jill Stein with that effort. And the PAC intervened in those states, and we were the defendants that stopped the recount from going forward in Michigan, that the courts agreed with our arguments, and the members of the Stop Hillary PAC prevailed and helped fund that effort. And now you see the whole Russian hacking issue by the Democrats, even though they know for a fact that had no influence whatsoever in the campaign. The Democrats are going to do everything they possibly can to undermine Donald Trump and the legitimacy of his election and the legitimacy of his presidency. And when we saw what the Democrats were doing, we knew that there was no other organization on the right that would go out there and fight hard for defending the Constitution, defending the free markets, defending the rule of law. And we and our members decided that we were going to continue this fight. The Democrats are never going to stop. I believe that the election for 2020 started on November 9th, and if that's going to be their philosophy, to never give up and never stop, then the Stop Hillary PAC, which has a membership of over 2.5 million people across the country, we have a very large donor base. We are going to be the organization on the right that is going to fight hard and fight the liberal left every time they try to intervene in stopping President-elect Trump from moving forward with the agenda that the grassroots American people want to have moved forward. And so we have transferred it pretty much in name only, the Stop Hillary PAC, over to the Committee to Defend the President, and we are going to aggressively continue to fight for the principles and the values that President Trump got elected on. And we are going to hold the Democrats accountable and the Democrat elected officials accountable when they go up against him. But also, we're going to hold Republicans accountable when they try to come up against the agenda of the grassroots conservative movement that got Donald Trump elected.
We've been speaking with former Colorado State Senator Ted Harvey, who works with the Committee to Defend the President, which is an organization that emerged from Stop Hillary PAC to support President-elect Donald Trump from leftist attacks and to continue to rally grassroots support behind him. You can find them at committeetodefendthepresident.com. You can also follow them on Twitter at Stop Hillary PAC. They're continuing to work on a daily basis. You heard Ted Harvey say right here that every single attack that comes up, they're working to defeat it and to defend the president-elect from these vicious attacks from the left. Ted Harvey, keep up the good work. Obviously, you have a very busy 4 to 8 years in front of you, and we hope you continue to succeed against long odds, which is what you've done so far for your recent past, and we hope that continues long into the future. Thank you for joining us here in the American
Chronicles.
Great.
You are great. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us in the American Chronicles. Well, that brings us to the end of the show. Check out my website, vladdavidyak.com, and make sure to follow me on Twitter at vladdavidyak. Tons of cool stuff there. Please give the show a great rating and review on iTunes. It really helps other people find us when they search for a show that other people like. Until the next time, remember, eternal vigilance is the price of liberty, and freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction.